In 1872, a black engineer named Elijah McCoy held a patent that would change the world. His education? Edinburgh University. His credentials? Mechanical engineering degree. His job? Shoveling coal and crawling around locomotive engines with an oil can. Because in 1870s America, even a formal engineering education couldn't overcome the color of your skin. But McCoy had an idea. What if he could invent something so brilliant that the entire railroad industry would demand his name? This is the story of how an outcast engineer invented the machine that made trains unstoppable and turned his name into a phrase we still use today. Let's talk about who Elijah McCoy really was. Born in 1844 to parents who escaped slavery through the Underground Railroad, but his father did well in Canada, well enough to send young Elijah to Edinburgh University to study mechanical engineering. For 5 years, he immersed himself in thermodynamics, material science, precision mechanics, the cutting edge of Victorian engineering. He understood what his parents had risked. Every lecture he attended, every equation he mastered, was built on their sacrifice. In 1866, he returned, a trained engineer, ready to build the future. But America in the 1860s had other plans. Door after door closed. Firm after firm rejected him, not for lack of skill, but for the color of his skin. The only job he could find? Fireman and oilman for the Michigan Central Railroad. Think about that for a second. You've spent 5 years studying engineering in Scotland. You understand thermodynamics, mechanical systems, material science, and your job, shovel coal and crawl around a moving locomotive with an oil can, because every few miles, these steam engines had to stop, completely stop, so someone, usually McCoy, could manually oil every cylinder, every valve, every moving part. It was dangerous. It was exhausting. It was a waste of time. But most of all, for a man with an engineering degree, it was humiliating. So let's talk about the problem McCoy was trying to solve. In the 1870s, railroads were the bloodline of America. Every train, passenger, freight, industrial, ran on steam power. And steam power meant friction, lots of it. Every 30 to 50 miles, full stop. 15 to 20 minutes while crews oiled every moving part. Multiply that across thousands of locomotives, hundreds of thousands of miles. You're looking at millions of hours lost every year. And if you didn't stop, cylinders sliding against pistons, valves opening and closing thousands of times per hour, all generating heat, all needing constant lubrication. Miss a single lubrication stop, the engine could seize, overheat, even explode. The damage was catastrophic. Thousands of dollars to repair, days of lost service. So McCoy started experimenting. At night, in his home workshop in Ypsilanti, using borrowed tools and scrap metal. Long after his shift ended, long after other workers went home, he worked. His goal was simple: create a device that could oil an engine while it was running, automatically. No stops, no manual labor. But precision work requires precision tools, and McCoy was making do with whatever he could borrow or afford. Now, automatic oilers already existed. The displacement lubricator, patented in 1860, used steam pressure to displace oil out of a reservoir. But it had problems. The oil flow was hard to control. It only worked when steam was present. When the engine was coasting, lubrication stopped, and the delivery was wildly inconsistent. Railroads used them, but they weren't satisfied. The system was better than manual oiling, but barely. McCoy tested version after version. Different valve designs, different reservoir shapes, different pressure mechanisms. His workshop floor became a graveyard of failed attempts. For 2 years, he kept failing. Month after month, prototype after prototype, each one almost right, but not quite. Until one night, everything changed. And then he saw it. The problem wasn't the reservoir. It wasn't the pressure. It was the control. What if instead of just letting steam displace the oil, you used a valve, controlled by a piston, that responded to the steam pressure itself? The engine would regulate its own lubrication. More steam pressure, more oil. Less pressure, less oil. Perfectly matched to the engine's work. It was brilliant, elegant, automatic. After 2 years of failure, he'd found it, the solution that would change everything. His hands moved with new certainty, each component machined to perfection, each connection precisely calculated. And when he held the finished device up to the light, he knew this would work. Here's how McCoy's genius worked. The oil drip cup sits on top of the steam cylinder. Inside, a hollow stem runs down into the steam chamber. At the bottom of that stem, a piston. At the top, a valve. When steam enters the chamber, it pushes against the piston. The piston moves the valve. The valve opens, oil drips. Out, one drop at a time, exactly where it's needed. But would it actually work? McCoy convinced Michigan Central to let him test it. And when that first drop fell, perfectly timed, perfectly controlled, everything changed. More steam, more pressure. More pressure, more oil. The system regulates itself. And here's the genius move. The oil flow is controlled. Not a flood, not a trickle, a steady, precise drip that you could watch through a sight glass. The test locomotive ran for 75 miles without stopping. Unheard of. Railroad men who had dismissed McCoy hours earlier now crowded around his invention, demanding to know how soon they could order them. It was simple, reliable, and it worked. In 1872, Elijah McCoy received U.S. Patent 129843 for his improvement in lubricators for steam engines. May 2nd, 1872. His name officially recognized. His genius legally documented. But like many black inventors of his era, he lacked the capital to manufacture it himself. So he sold the patent rights to investors in Ypsilanti. And that's when something unexpected happened.
So why did this matter so much? Because in 1872, America was in the middle of the railroad boom. 40,000 miles of track, thousands of locomotives, all of them stopping every few miles to be hand-oiled. Every day, rails stretched further west. Every week, new lines opened. The country was being stitched together by steel and steam. And every single one of those trains needed constant lubrication. McCoy's device changed the equation completely. Railroad companies started ordering them. First, Michigan Central, where McCoy had worked, then others, because the math was simple. Automatic lubrication meant longer runs, faster trains, lower labor costs, higher profits. The Pennsylvania Railroad, the New York Central, orders flooded in. Trains that once stopped every 30 miles could now run for hundreds of miles without pause. Production scaled up. Factories churned out thousands of McCoy's lubricators, each one precisely manufactured to his specifications. Passengers arrived faster. Freight moved more efficiently. The entire railroad industry became more competitive. Schedule times dropped by a third. Tickets got cheaper. Commerce accelerated. Travel transformed from an ordeal into a luxury. And it wasn't just trains. Steamships adopted McCoy's system. Factory machinery, mining equipment, transatlantic shipping companies installed them on their massive marine engines. Reliability meant everything in ocean commerce. Deep underground, mining operations depended on continuous steam power to pump water. McCoy's lubricators kept those pumps running. By 1899, almost every North American railroad was using McCoy lubricators. But here's where the story gets interesting. The device was so simple, so effective, that competitors started copying it. Knockoff versions flooded the market. Some good, many terrible. Railroad engineers started having a problem. They couldn't tell the difference just by looking, and the consequences were real. Cheap imitations failed, engine seized, money was lost. So when they ordered new equipment, they started asking for it by name. They wanted the real McCoy. And just like that, a phrase was born. So let's talk about why this matters to you. Every automated system in the modern world, every machine that regulates itself without human intervention, traces back to this idea. McCoy lived to see the beginning of this revolution. By 1900, his lubricators were everywhere. The hands that once shoveled coal had reshaped American industry. Today, industrial plants have thousands of lubrication points, all automated, all self-regulating, extending machinery life, increasing reliability, reducing waste. But McCoy's invention wasn't just about oil. It was about a bigger idea, machines that could control themselves. McCoy spent the rest of his life improving his system. By the time he died in 1929, he held more than 50 patents. In 2020, near the end of his career, he finally founded his own company, the Elijah J. McCoy Manufacturing Company. At 76, he walked into his own office, his name on the door, the engineer he'd trained to be 60 years earlier. Lubrication systems, ironing boards, lawn sprinklers, rubber heels, vehicle wheels, scaffold supports. His mind never stopped inventing. In his final years, he could look back and see what he'd built, not just machines, a legacy. In 2012, the United States Patent and Trademark Office named its first regional office after him, the Elijah J. McCoy Midwest Regional Patent Office, in Detroit, the city where he spent most of his life. Engineers, historians, and children gathered to honor him. The recognition came 83 years late, but it came. But here's the real legacy. Every time your car's cruise control adjusts your speed, every time your thermostat regulates your home's temperature, every time a machine makes a decision without you, from complete factory automation to life support systems in space, self-regulating technology everywhere you look, you're experiencing the echo of what Elijah McCoy invented in a cramped workshop in 1872. Think about that. A man trained as an engineer, forced to shovel coal because of racism, invented the concept of automation out of sheer frustration with inefficiency. He turned humiliation into innovation, rejection into revolution. And when people wanted to make sure they were getting the authentic version, the best version, they asked for his name. They asked for the real McCoy. And we still do. We use his name dozens of times in our lives without even knowing where it came from. But now you know. You know about the outcast engineer who made trains unstoppable. You know about Elijah McCoy.